In today's lesson, you will learn to graph nonlinear equations. You should already be able to graph linear equations having two variables, and you should be able to solve quadratic or higher order equations by factoring. As you go through today's tape, be sure to take careful notes. If you should encounter something that you do not completely understand, either rewind the tape and listen to it again, or stop the tape and get someone to help you. Let's start today's tape with a quick review of the method to graph any equation. So this is a recall because really you've had it before. If you do not remember it, be sure to write it on your formula sheet or write it on your study sheet. Notice I did put a star on it. To graph an equation having two variables, the first thing you always do is solve for y. You've got to get y by itself. Once you solve for y, you want to make a table of values. Then you plot the points, and finally you draw the curve. Now when you had this rule before, all of your curves were straight lines. But the same procedure will follow today. You solve for y, you make a table of values, you plot the points, and you draw the curve. Let's look at one that like you would have had previously. We're going to start with the linear equation having two variables. You already know how to do that one, but let's review just a moment anyway. As an example, let's graph 2x plus y is equal to 3. Now your first step is to solve for y. In order to solve for y, I need to add a negative 2x to both sides. If I add a negative 2x to the left side, I get y. If I add a negative 2x to the right side, I get a negative 2x plus 3. So in the first step, we simply solve for y by adding a negative 2x to both sides. Next, I make a table of values. To make a table of values, we choose values for x and then evaluate to find y. Well, as our first choice of x, let's use negative 2. Now, if x is negative 2, that means I replace x by negative 2 in the equation. So in place of x, I'm putting negative 2. Now, a negative 2 times negative 2 will be a positive 4. A positive 4 plus 3 is 7. As a second choice of x, we will use 0. When I put in 0, I have negative 2 times 0. Notice in this case we are replacing x by 0. So negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. Let's choose one more value of x. I'm going to choose positive 2. So notice I'm replacing x by positive 2. Now negative 2 times a positive 2 is a negative 4. A negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So I have completed step 2, which is to make a table of values. Now once you get your table of values, then you want to graph or plot the points. So I'm going to move this up so we can barely see it, and we are going to now plot the points. I hope you can see this graph. It is kind of dark, but here is the origin, and we want to plot the points negative 2, 7. Now to plot negative 2, 7, I'm going to plot this one first, negative 2, 7. And to plot negative 2, 7, I need to go 2 places left and 7 up. So I'll go left 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there's the point, negative 2, 7. I go left 2, up 7. Now I'm going to plot the point 0, 3. I go left and right 0, but I go up 3. And then we're going to do the point 2, 1. That means I go to the right 2 and up 1. I'm sorry, that was 2, negative 1. So to do 2, negative 1, I go right 2 and down 1. Now you see why I need 3 points. If that point had not been out of line, I may not have noticed my error. But I have 2, negative 1. So I'll go right 2 and down 1. So that completed step 3, which is to plot the points. Step 4 is to draw the curve. So I want to draw, in this case, the line connecting all 3 points. And we have the graph of the equation y is equal to 2x plus 3. Now you can see the graph better, but I wanted you to see the ordered pair at the same time. So we have the ordered pair, negative 2, 7, 0, 3, 2, negative 1. Those are the ordered pairs. There's your graph. Now that should be basically a review for you. Before moving on, I want to give you a special notation. One frequently uses the symbol f parentheses x, read f is a function of x, or some other letter as a function of x, to denote y. In other words, y is equal to f as a function of x. So if you see some letter as a function of x, know that that is just standing for the y or your dependent variable. X is your independent variable, y is your dependent variable. So y is a function of x. Y depends on x. X is the independent, y is the dependent. Or I can use any letter. I do not have to use f. I could use G, H, K, whatever. So we have y, we could write y is a function of x. And G would be the name of the function. So when you see function notation such as this, you know that your function notation stands for your dependent variable, in this case, y.